Have you ever dealt with someone who seemed to always crave admiration, control, and constant validation? You know, someone who never seemed to acknowledge their flaws and always needed to be the center of attention? Chances are you've encountered a narcissist, someone who's not just self-absorbed, but also manipulative, emotionally distant, and sometimes downright dangerous in their pursuit of superiority. But what happens when you strip away their armor, challenge their inflated sense of self, or make them feel small for once? In this video, we'll explore the 5 things that will utterly shatter a narcissist's heart and send them into a full-blown frenzy. If you've ever wondered what could break their composure or disrupt their carefully constructed world, stick around, because these actions might surprise you. We'll take a deep dive into the behaviors and psychological dynamics that lie behind the narcissist's fragile ego, and by the end, you'll have a clear understanding of what makes their world crumble. Narcissism, in psychological terms, refers to a personality disorder characterized by an inflated sense of one's importance, a deep need for excessive attention, and a lack of empathy for others. The narcissist, often charming at first, thrives on admiration, using it to fill the emptiness they feel inside. Their self-image is like a delicate house of cards, built meticulously over time, but incredibly fragile. While they may appear strong, confident, and unshakable, there are several things that can unravel their carefully constructed reality. These moments are rare, but they are powerful, and they often bring out the most volatile side of the narcissist. 1. Rejection of their sense of superiority. The narcissist's greatest fear is that their sense of superiority will be questioned. They live in a world where they believe they are better, more capable, or more deserving than others. For a narcissist, their self-worth is tied directly to the validation they receive from others, particularly from those they seek to control. So, when someone challenges this view, whether it's through rejection or a refusal to admire them, it strikes at the core of their self-image. Imagine a scenario where a narcissist is used to receiving constant compliments and attention. If, for any reason, they are met with indifference or outright rejection, their world starts to unravel. This rejection doesn't necessarily have to be overt. It could be something as subtle as not responding to their demands for validation, or a situation where they aren't the center of attention. The narcissist may react with anger, denial, or even an emotional outburst, as this rejection forces them to confront the reality that they are not as superior as they want to believe. For example, in a social setting, if everyone stops fawning over them and instead starts paying attention to someone else, they may immediately feel threatened. They might attempt to sabotage others to regain their position of power. Their response will often be intense, either through overt aggression or covert manipulation. 2. Exposure of their insecurities. Narcissists often go to great lengths to conceal their insecurities, masking them behind a facade of perfection, charm, or dominance. However, deep down, many narcissists harbor a sense of inadequacy and fear of being exposed as fraudulent or unworthy. They dread that others will see through their masks and recognize their true self. If these vulnerabilities are exposed, either accidentally or intentionally, it can send a narcissist into a frenzy. This exposure can happen in many ways. It might be when a narcissist is confronted about their behavior or lies, and they realize they can no longer maintain the illusion of invulnerability. If someone sees through their emotional manipulations or brings up a past failure they've been trying to hide, the narcissist can become highly defensive. They will often react with fury, seeking to either diminish the person exposing them or deflect blame. For instance, if a narcissist is caught in a lie or manipulative behavior, instead of owning up to it, they may accuse others of being too sensitive or misunderstanding the situation. The narcissist's inability to handle this exposure often leads to erratic behavior, including anger, retaliation, or dramatic outbursts. 3. Being ignored or not receiving validation. To the narcissist, being ignored is more than just unpleasant, it is devastating. Narcissists thrive on attention and validation. The idea that they are invisible or that their presence is not valued can leave them feeling unimportant and unworthy. This makes them particularly sensitive to being ignored, as it implies that they have no influence, no value, or no importance to others. When a narcissist doesn't receive the validation they crave, their anxiety about their worth increases exponentially. They may act out in different ways, from throwing tantrums to engaging in desperate attempts to regain attention. Their emotional response to being ignored is akin to feeling abandoned, and they will often go to great lengths to manipulate people into giving them the attention they think they deserve. This can involve guilt-tripping, passive-aggressive behavior, or even playing the victim to regain the spotlight. For example, if a narcissist calls someone or sends a message and gets no response, they might wait a while before messaging again, perhaps accusing the person of being inconsiderate or ungrateful. If this tactic doesn't work, they may escalate to more drastic measures, like trying to humiliate the person publicly or threatening to end the relationship entirely. For loss of control. Control is one of the most crucial things a narcissist seeks in every relationship and situation. Their need to dominate and control others gives them a sense of stability, allowing them to feel powerful and in charge. If something or someone threatens their control, whether it's a loss of power in a social circle, a failed manipulation, or a situation they can't control, it can send them into a frenzy. Narcissists are notorious for their controlling behavior, whether it's in personal relationships or work situations. They may attempt to micromanage people, dictate what others should do, or manipulate situations to ensure they remain in charge. When this control is taken from them, whether through an external force or the actions of others, they often react with fury and an increased sense of desperation. The loss of control makes them feel vulnerable, and this vulnerability triggers their worst fears of being exposed or abandoned. For instance, if a narcissist feels that they are losing control over their partner or employee, they may resort to controlling tactics, such as guilt-tripping, threats, or even gaslighting. This behavior is a direct response to their fear of being powerless, which, in their mind, is a direct threat to their very existence. 5. Being outshined or outperformed. The narcissists' need to feel superior is tied directly to their fear of being outshined. They cannot tolerate seeing others succeed or receive praise, especially if they perceive that person as a threat to their status or image. If someone outshines them, whether it's in a professional context, in social settings, or even in a romantic relationship, it can have a devastating effect on their psyche. When a narcissist feels that someone else has done better, whether it's a colleague getting a promotion or a friend receiving attention, they often react with envy and resentment. This can trigger their need to undermine that person in order to reclaim their position of dominance. In extreme cases, narcissists will sabotage others to prevent them from getting ahead, all while masking their jealousy as righteous indignation. Their belief that they should always be the best, the brightest, and the most admired leaves them unable to tolerate seeing anyone else succeed, especially if they feel the attention should be on them. For example, a narcissist might dismiss the achievements of others, belittle their success, or even try to take credit for their accomplishments in a bid to restore their own image. While narcissists can often seem invincible, their emotional world is incredibly fragile. Underneath their polished exterior lies a person who is deeply insecure, dependent on external validation, and terrified of being exposed or rejected. The 5 things we've discussed, rejection of their superiority, exposure of their insecurities, being ignored, loss of control, and being outshined, are all threats to their carefully curated self-image. When these elements collide, a narcissist will likely respond with rage, manipulation, or even a full breakdown. Understanding these triggers can help you navigate relationships with narcissists more effectively, ensuring that you protect your own emotional well-being while also recognizing the psychological turmoil that drives their behavior. By acknowledging these vulnerabilities, we can better understand the complexities of narcissistic personalities and the underlying fragility that lies beneath their seemingly impenetrable exterior.